Well, hello traders and investors. I'm LA Little and this is your weekly NeoTA wrap. We take a look at these markets, doing it from a neoclassical perspective. Each time asking ourselves what happened last week, what does it tell us about the coming ones? I do this show every Sunday evening, broadcast at before 10 o'clock Eastern Time. It's archived on YouTube and it's under the channel LA Little. If you want to subscribe, just reach over the right-hand corner there, hit the subscribe button, and join in to the goodies that we offer. As far as what the markets did, here's the daily view from last week. Bonds, nice spike up. Gold and silver actually did a nice reversal. Those look to be headed lower short term. Oil helped the markets lift. We did finish slightly negative on the listed issues, slightly positive on the OTC. Over in Asia, you had a nice bounce. Over in Europe, you had a bit of a pullback. If you look at it here from the weekly standpoint, pretty flat last week. Nice gains on the year. Let's take a look at the dollar to start with. Now the dollar, I bring this up because I believe that what you're going to see is you're going to see gold struggle as the dollar begins its ascent. And I believe that dollar is going to begin that ascent before you know it. It's going to try to get back up over this area. Now, if that's true, that's going to put pressure on commodities, probably pressure on bonds as a result. We had bad news on Friday on this front, but we didn't get any kind of pullback as a result of that. Let me pull this chart in here. And so this big range has been in effect up here, still in effect, and if they're going to push it, they're going to start trying to push it higher than this resistance zone, get it into the upper half. And if I go back and pull up the daily chart, I wanted to show you this. They gapped it down to start with on Friday on the bad retail numbers, but it didn't do anything to it. It just came back in, right? The money comes back in, just starts to buy it again. This looks like it does want to go higher, and that is going to put pressure elsewhere, as I just described. If you look over at the other indexes, ETFs, if you will, for the currencies, you can see the euro. It's at the top of that range, struggling. Each time it gets up there, it struggles. Looks to me like it just failed again on this bar. If we look at the Swiss franc, you got the same thing, right? Tries to push higher, really can't. If I look over, and I'm just walking through all of these. If you look at Canada, trying to push higher, struggling to do so. Of course, Britain, we know, has been a complete sell-off. It's down there testing the lows again. If we look at Australia, that one has had a nice push to the top side, but that one actually came off with some volume. Going to do a retest regen here and try to push lower again, which would push the dollar higher. And finally, if we look at the yen, now the yen had a big run to the top side. That yen to me looks like it's probably at the end of this big run, doing that bearish retest regen. Can't get over it. It's tried 3 times now. We may see that yen come off pretty precipitously here fairly soon. Going on and continuing with this thought, gold had a bearish, outside bearish reversal day, and so it was an engulfing candle. It engulfed the prior bar, right? Volume expands. It did a complete reversal off this high yesterday and reversed and closed at the low. It's going to come back into this bar. This is going to be a key bar. If you pull it back on a weekly, you can see the push up, right? All the volume was back here. You get the push up, then you get the spike up volume, not as much, right? Now you get over it, back under it, you're going to come back down. This is going to try to get back into these lower price points. If we look at silver, which everybody has wanted to be on that trade because it's outran gold, has the same engulfing, right? Pull it to a weekly, struggling at the highs, pull it to a monthly. This one is going to try to come back in and do a retest regen. And so it looks to me like metals are telling us they want to pull back. If we go to the bonds are struggling to get up. They go over, and I think they did an over-under. Let's see, 140.08. Not closed exactly at the penny. So just sideways up there right now. Here's the weekly again. They're holding this big bar up. That was the low here was 138.09. They've tested it several times. Right now, bonds haven't broken down, and if you look at it here, they get over the big bar. But they continue to test, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them drift in a little bit more. If we go over to oil, and I'll just use the USO rather than trying to pull up a WTI chart, You're starting to get the spike up on the daily. Here's that move on the weekly, and this was a big area to hold because it was a bullish retest regenerate on the WTI itself, and so that kind of looks positive on that side of things. If I look at anything inside the ox market, right, it just looks to me like what you're going to see is you're going to see these currency plays start to whip around some of these other commodities and bonds and so forth, and as a result. Here on the daily chart, not a lot to worry about at this point. Same thing on the weekly. You got the push, you got the breakout, and continues higher. And if you go to the monthly, you've got your breakout there as well. Should try to extend 2 to 3 bars. So that says we're going to go to October, if you believe that. Here's breakouts on the NASDAQ, both time frames. That says we should try to trade higher again next week. Same thing on the NDX, breakouts a week ago, still trying to push higher. And I'm curious to see if the Russell can actually pick it up finally and move higher if in fact oil is going to change. Overall, folks, looks to me like these markets are no different than they have been, and that is that they want to go up. That's it for today, for this week, and I'll be catching you as the week proceeds. Have a great one. Take care. I'll see you next time. Good night.